Hey there guys, and welcome back to Dino Reacts. Let's get talking Resident Evil Apocalypse. Resident Evil Apocalypse was released in 2004 and once again it stars Milla Jovovich. So the movie itself, it pretty much centers around the character Alice from the last movie waking up in Raccoon City and seeing the destruction of the city. We also get new additions in Jill Valentine and Special Tactics and Rescue Squad stars. So that's one thing I really enjoyed about this movie, is that we get more of the game into the film itself. Even the visuals and the look of this movie, I really like how it pretty much looks like the game series. There are also quite a lot of scenes in this one were actually taken from the games themselves, particularly Resident Evil 3 and Resident Evil Code Veronica. And that's what I like about the movie. Right from the get-go you are in Raccoon City, and for the most part it looks like Raccoon City itself, so it does look like what you would play in the games. Now the visuals, although I like that it is similar to the game series, they're not my favourite. They do kind of remind me of Mortal Kombat and other video game adaptations like that. Jill Valentine as well, I really enjoyed in the movie. For me, she's actually my favourite game character of all time, and she's my favourite character besides Chris Redfield in the game series. So I did really enjoy seeing her on screen, and she's just as badass in the movie as she is in the game. I did like the actress who played her. I also thought she paired really well with Milla Jovovich with any scenes they kind of had on screen. But even with stars, they were a really good addition. What I enjoyed with this movie is that we actually didn't get a whole bunch of stars team members, just because I think if they had included that, it would have been very similar to the first game. So instead, we just get Jill Valentine and her partner, I can't think of his name, as well as some Umbrella Task Force agents. So we get Carlos again from the Resident Evil games, particularly Resident Evil 3. If you play the remake at the moment, you'll know who these characters are. As for Nemesis, I loved that they included him in the movie itself. As I said in the last movie, I didn't think Liquor was the best kind of big bad to have in the film as far as b.o.w.s go. Nemesis is definitely a step up. I do definitely have issues with Nemesis though, and that's particularly his look in the movie. I respect that the kind of filmmakers didn't go down the CGI route, because honestly I think at the time they would not be able to pull it off. Nemesis himself, he is a hard one to get right, but I also don't think they got him right in this movie. Just the practical effects on him look almost comical today. They do look a bit silly and over the top. As well as that, you can clearly tell he's just a guy walking around in a huge bodysuit. His skin doesn't look like actual skin. The scars on him, none of it works really well at all. He just looks like kind of a stuntman more than anything else, walking around the place in a huge bodysuit. But as I said, I do really enjoy that they included him in the movie. As far as, the big bads in Resident Evils go, he's definitely one of the top tier ones. And as well as that, it just gave the character something big to fight against. Speaking of the b.o.w.s though, we also get zombies in this again. They are just as good as the first one. There are also a few scenes in the movie that they literally recreate from Resident Evil 3, which I really enjoyed with the zombies themselves. We get the dogs as well, who are actually a bit of an improvement in this one. Again, they do just kind of look like they have buckets of blood thrown on them, but what I like about the movie is they actually keep the dogs in the dark. And I honestly think for Resident Evil movies and just kind of horror movies in general, if you're going to have creatures that you really don't know how to work without CGI, it is better to keep them in the dark. We get the same for the Lickers. So the Lickers were kind of the big one in the last movie. In this one we actually get 3 different Lickers and they look so much better. Again, a lot of that is that they're kind of kept in the dark, but their practical effects and CGI are definitely improved. Overall though, the kind of creatures in this movie are just as good as the first one. I did really enjoy all the interactions they had. One of my favourite scenes in the movie is actually we get kind of like zombie children, and they are one of the darkest parts and the creepiest parts of the entire series. Another thing I liked about the movie is just the scale of it. So we are in Raccoon City. We almost feel like we have a whole city to play with this one. In the last one, the characters were just kind of stuck down in the hive, whereas this one is bigger and badder. There are a lot more things to do, and there's a lot more characters to juggle as well. I did like the new additions of the characters. I think we get LJ in here, and we get that reporter who was actually one of my favorites when I first watched the movie. I just like that we got regular people in it as well, trying to escape Raccoon City. The reporter herself, she actually reminded me of Resident Evil Outbreak, so I thought it was a good addition. I don't know if they were going down that route necessarily, but I just like that we had multiple different characters that we cared about, and you can kind of see them get picked off one by one. Some of the standout scenes in the movie are definitely the church scene. I thought that was, again, very reminiscent of the games, but as well as that, the school scene. There are some really great kills as well. As I said, the reporter in that school scene where she kind of goes in and discovers the zombie children, that was by far one of the darkest parts of the entire movie. And for some of the movie, I do wish they kind of continued that. The movie itself, it does have a lot of action. That's one thing I will give a shout out to. The action in this one is top notch. There are some incredible stunts in the movie. Milla Jovovich's stunt double in particular, at one point she kind of scales down a building. But besides that, you know, the Umbrella Corporation soldiers, they have some great action scenes in there. And of course, Alice. So with this one, she definitely comes back a lot badder and a lot crazier than the last movie. In the last movie, she had some amnesia, so we couldn't really see what she was capable of. In this one, she has been kind of tested and operated on, so she has kind of enhanced powers in a way, but she kicks ass in this movie. Milla Jovovich as well, she did quite a few of her own stunts, and you can see that in the film. Just the scarring and the bruises she gets are actually real bruises from filming. One of my favourite scenes with her is when she kind of makes her big entrance in the church and she takes out 3 different liquors. That is an incredible scene, and it's what you want out of Resident Evil. The liquors as well, they are scaled down to be kind of more similar to what they're like in the games. But besides that, you know, her taking on Nemesis, her kind of taking on the Umbrella Corporation, there's one scene in particular where a helicopter is trying to shoot her through a glass corridor. That is a brilliant scene in the movie, and again, it's taken out of Code Veronica. So I like to include the scenes like that. Like, some of the Resident Evil games do have some really good action set pieces. At the same time though, I also still appreciate that they kept that horror aspect of it. There is, again, a really good mix of it. What I like about this movie in particular is it feels like the games. Now, is it the best Resident Evil movie we could have gotten? Of course not. Again, there are many different times I was watching this movie where I was kind of wishing they went down a different route. The movie at times, it does look a little cartoonish. When you look at the late 90s and the early 2000s, there was a lot of video game adaptations at the time, and they all kind of had that same look. Mortal Kombat, Doom, Resident Evil. The only one I've ever really seen done right was Silent Hill. There are also some Easter eggs in there. So Jill Valentine, she kind of gets kicked off the Stars Force team. But we see at the start of the movie, there's a newspaper clipping that tells of an incident in the Arclay Mountains. So for us Resident Evil fans, that does refer to the first game. It also says that her partner Leon S. Kennedy did get killed. Now, for some people, if you watch the whole Resident Evil series, I'm pretty sure he appears in one of the later movies. So there is some continuity errors already starting. But again, I just like those little Easter eggs that are thrown in there. Even Nikolai from Resident Evil 3 is in there. Now, he suffers a much different fate than what he gets in the game. But again, it was just cool to include those characters more than anything else. We also get the addition of the Ashford family in this one, which again, they do have a much different storyline than what they get in the game series. But I did like their addition, particularly Angie Ashford, the little girl in this one. She reminded me a lot of Sherry Birkin, and just her relationship with Alice was quite neat. It reminded me of movies like Aliens and things like that. I did like her addition, and I like the whole storyline about the antivirus and explaining where the virus came from. The Umbrella Corporation are just as sinister in this movie as they are in the last one, but we see a lot of the big players going forward for the sequels. So it does set up the next movie for sure. For me, it went down a bit more of a Matrixy action route after this movie. I don't mind the next one, but just that ending alone, I wasn't a big fan of. I do like the self-contained story in Raccoon City in this one. I like that they kept with those horror tropes, and we get really sinister b.o.w.s as well as the Umbrella Corporation. The ending of the movie, I'll admit, I'm not a huge fan of. I don't like the new powers they give to Alice. I just think it kind of goes more into the sci-fi route rather than horror. And you kind of get that going forward in this series from here. It kind of starts taking steps away from horror for whatever reason, and they go big on action. But guys, I did definitely enjoy this movie. I liked the addition of Jill Valentine and just appearing with her and Alice. I think they're both kick-ass in the movie. I like again that they kept those horror elements and we see a lot more of the Umbrella Corporation. Raccoon City in particular, it was really fun just to have the whole city to play with, and the stunts and action are top notch. But guys, what did you think of this entry in the series? Is it one of your favorites, or do you not like the movie at all? As always guys, let me know in the comments. If you can, subscribe to the channel and give the video a big thumbs up. Follow me on social media guys. Next up we are going to be looking at Resident Evil Extinction, the third entry in the series. But until then, Heidi ho.